Welcome to the second objective of this tutorial. Our goal is to reproduce our design using the Android IDE, and before you can do this you need to have Android Studio installed on your system. So to do that you need to visit this website, developers.android.com/studio. Once you come to the site, you just need to download it. This video tutorial is not going to show you how to install Android Studio. Maybe I may do another tutorial that shows you the process of installing Android Studio on your system, but you can search online. There are multiple resources on YouTube that can show you how to install Android Studio on your system. So once you have this installed, we're going to start designing our app. So why not pause this video right here and go ahead to install the Android Studio IDE on your PC. Once you're done installing the Android Studio, you can come back to this video to continue the tutorial. So I'm going to wait for you so that you can go ahead and install the Android Studio. Welcome back. I believe you already have your Android Studio installed. Once you've installed it, start it up. Once you start your Android Studio, you get to see this first screen. In this first screen, you get to click on Start a new Android Studio project, which will bring up a dialog box. This dialog box has several options, but we are designing for phone and tablets. So once you click on phone and tablet, you select empty activity, then you click on next. So once you click on next, you have to enter a name for your application. So right now I will type in Signup. Signup login PHP, because that's what we're treating. Then you need to type your package name. Your package name simply means a unique identifier for your app. So I will leave it the way it is, but you can type in anything you want. Then the next thing you need to do is to select where you want to save your projects. Right now I'm going to leave the directory the way it is on my own system. Then we need to select the language you're building on. This tutorial is going to be Java, so we're going to be building on Java language. Then you leave everything the way it is and click on Finish. Once you click on Finish, the Android Studio will set up the rest of the environment for you so that you can start your development. Once your environment have been set up successfully, you will have all you need to build your app. So right now we are waiting for Android Studio to completely set up our system, or rather our environment. And yes, we are ready to go. Once your environment have been set up successfully, this is what you get to see in your Android Studio. Now this tutorial is not an introduction to Android Studio, so I may not have to introduce to you some of the navigations here. You can check online to find out more about Android Studio. This tutorial is all about showing you how to design and build a simple registration and login app using PHP. So if you want to learn more about Android Studio, I would recommend you going to YouTube and search for Introduction to Android Studio, so you can learn more about the environment of Android Studio and the flow, the workflow or the work area of Android Studio. So in this tutorial, like I said, we're going to focus on registration and login. But before we start, you need to understand your working environment in this Android Studio. So I will just show you some major part of it. This is where you organize your project file. You can organize it by project or by Android. This area is your coding area. So this is where you perform all the coding aspect of your application. Then this is where you do all your design. So we're going to use this area to reproduce our design, just like the way we have it on the Adobe XD. Now in the design view, there are three major view sets, which are the code view, the splits view, and the design view. The code view gives you the room for coding your design, while the split view gives you the room to preview your design as you are coding it. And lastly, the design view gives you the room just to design without touching the code aspect of it. So throughout our design or our development, we're going to be working with a split view because I want us to be seeing the preview of what we are designing or what we're coding as we move along. In order for you to preview your design, you need to add a virtual device on your system. And to do that, you need to come down to this area, click on Open AVD Manager. In this dialog box, you need to create a virtual device. Once you click on create a virtual device, under the phone section, you need to select the kind of phone device you want. So I will leave it just the way it is on Pixel 2. Then you click on next. Once you click on next, you may need to download the Android Studio operating system if you haven't downloaded it already. But since I've downloaded mine under these 86 images, I will select my operating system, which is a Q, then click on next and rename it to whatsoever you want. Once you're done renaming it, you click on finish. Once you're done with that, now you have your virtual device installed on your Android Studio. So with this virtual device, you can simply preview all your developments and all your designs. So before we continue, let's take a preview at our current app. Now once you click on the play button, the device you just added will come up, will pop up. Now we're going to wait for it to generate a bundle and install it. Once it's done installing, it's going to launch it up. And now we have our app. Now if you can take a look, we have the title of our app, which is Signup Login PHP. So let's make a little changes. We're gonna change, let me zoom this a bit. We're gonna change this hello world to hello class. Now let's preview it. Once you click on the preview button, you will notice the changes we just made. So you can see we now have hello class. So this is how easy it is to preview your work while you design using Android Studio. In Android Studio, we have the Rex directory. This Rex directory comprises of the drawables, the layouts, mipmaps, and values. Now under the values, we have the colors, the strings, and the styles. Let's make a little changes on our app style by changing the app theme to no action bar. So what this does is to remove the title bar for our app. Now let's preview the changes. As you can see, there is no more title bar in this application. So anytime you want to remove the title bar for your app, you just change the style to no action bar. The next thing we need to do is to import our resources, those resources that was exported from XD. To do that, you need to right click on drawables and select vector assets. Once you select vector assets, you have this dialog box that give you option to import local files, which include SVG. You remember we save our work as SVG. Right now we need to browse where we exported the assets and import it into our Android Studio. If you want, you can rename your assets to whatsoever you want. Once you have renamed it, then you can import it. Click on next, then finish to import it into your Android Studio. Now we're going to do the same thing for the text field. Right click on drawables, click vector image, browse where you have your assets, select the assets, click on open, then rename it to what you want. Let me rename it to input BG, click on next and finish to import it. Right now we just imported our asset into our Android Studio project. There are several layouts in Android Studio. The one we're going to be working with right now is the linear layout. The linear layout helps present our application in a portrait view. Once we have the linear layout, I will have to delete the text view. Then I'll create another layout. This layout is called relative layout. This relative layout helps in making it flexible to arrange your designs. Now the next thing I need to do is to create a text view. This text view will be our title for sign up. I will have to give it an ID. An ID simply means the unique identifier. I'll name it page title. Then I'll have to manually type in the text, which is sign up. Let's take a look at our design so we can replicate exactly what we have on the XD design. So if you take a look, we have the font size to be 25. So we're going to change the font size here to 25 points or DP. Then I need to get a margin top. The margin top is the distance from the top to where the title is. So we have about 120 dp as the distance from the top. Now let's get the margin from the left side. So from the XD you can see that the margin is 22. So in the Android Studio, we're going to give it margin left to be 22 dp. The next thing we need to do is to give it a text color, and to do that we're going to apply the text color to it. So we're going to select a black color, but we don't have a black color in this list. We need to define a black color, and to define a black color you need to go to the color XML value, copy one of these and paste it. Under the name section, we'll rename this as color black. and give it a value of 000000, which represent black. So let's confirm that from the SD. You can notice we have this value as the color. So going back to our main design, we can now select the black color. You can see we now have color black here. Once we have given this a color, we need to bolden it by selecting text style and select bold. Okay, now we need to create our text input area. And to create our text input area, let's take a look at our Adobe XD so that we take note of what we need to design. So in this XD, we have a shaded rectangle shape with a width of 316 and a height of 37. The distance, the left distance, the margin left is 22 and the margin top is 252. So with this information, let's go to our Android Studio to reproduce it. So from the Android Studio, let's create a little space here and type in edit text. Now Android Studio, you use edit text for inputs. Now we're going to make the width to wrap content and the height to wrap content as well. Then I'm going to give it an ID, a unique identifier, so that we can always recognize this input. So let's name this ID as email login. Now let's give it a background. To give it a background, we are going to locate the asset resource we imported. Since we are using a relative layout right now, I can easily arrange my views by bringing this edit text below the text view. Let's center this to the middle of the page and give this a little bit of a distance. And to get the distance accurately, we need to take a look at the SD to know the accurate distance. Now we have the distance to be about 100 points. We'll come back to our Android Studio and give it a margin top of 100 dp. Now to get our placeholder, we need to use the hint. The hint gives us the ability to type a hint for our input. So I will type email. Then the next thing is to increase, or rather to reduce the size of the text. Now I need to make a little space for the inputs by using the padding left. If you take a look at the SD, you will notice there's a space between the input and the text itself. So I'll come back to the Android Studio and give the padding left to be 15 points. So I'll just copy the whole text inputs and duplicate it. I'll just rename this to password login. That's the ID to password login. Then I'll make it to be below the email login instead of the page title. I'll have to reduce the margin because the margin in this SD is just 5 points. So I will reduce this margin to 5 points. So if you can take a look, background doesn't seem to be shaded enough. So let me confirm if the shade is applying correctly. So we're going to go to the drawable, go to the input BG for background. If we take a look at the fill color, the fill color seems to be the same as what we have in the SD. So what I will do is I will increase the shade. I will make it much darker than what it is before. Then let me copy this and paste it. Let's take a look at how it's going to come out, if this is going to be okay. And yes, the shades seem to be okay right now. but I need to increase the width of the inputs. The width of the inputs seem to be too shrinked, so I will increase it to something, let's say 350. This seems to be nice. I will do the same for the password. Now I will rename the password hint to be password. Then I will have to copy this and create our button. I will rename this tag to be image button, change the ID to button login, and I'll bring it below the password input. I may have to change the tag to be button instead of image button so that I can have space to enter my text, my button text. So I will name this as sign in. Let's take a look at the XD and see the properties. The size is 18 points, so I'll change this to 18 dp. I will take away the padding left. I don't need it to be capital. Then I'll change the drawable to be button background. Then I have to give this a white color. But since we don't have a white color right now, I'll have to define a white color from the color XML. So I'll enter FFF, then change this to be color white. Going back to the main design, I will change the text color to color white. So taking a look at the XD, we notice the height is 37. So let's come back to the Android Studio and change the height to be 37 dp. Then the distance between the text field seems to be 20 points, so I'll change the distance to be 20 points. So let's take a preview at our design. And it seemed to be okay by me. I just need to make a little changes on the title text view and preview it again. And we are done with our sign-in page. As you can see, we just reproduced the design that we had on the Adobe XD, just the way it was on the Adobe XD. It's been reproduced in the Android Studio. So this is how easy it is for you to make your design on XD and reproduce it on the Android Studio. So right now we need to create the sign up page, and we need to link up the sign in and the sign up page so that users can navigate to each of this page with ease. Now let's change the text to something like "You don't have an account, click here." Now let's reduce the text size to be 10 points, 10 dp, and let's bring it way below the login button. Now let's reduce the margin top to 10 dp and let's centralize it. Let's remove the margin left and centralize it. Let's take a preview of what we just did. Okay, right now it's just telling us we need to restart the app instead, so I'll come to restart the app, and this is what we have. So this where users will click, and this will take the user to the sign up page. So for us to create the sign up page, we just need to add up a new activity page. To add up the new activity page or activity screen, you need to go to the app, click on new, then you come down to activity. So we're going to select empty activity because we are designing from scratch. Just like how you had it before, let's name this activity as sign up screen. Leave everything the way it is, then you click on finish. So once you click on finish, you have the sign up screen made available for you to design. So right now we have two major screens. There's a main activity and a sign up screen. Let me minimize this and go to the split view. Let me increase this split view a bit. Right now what I'll just do is I'll copy the whole thing from the sign in page and paste it on the sign up page. So once I paste it, I'll have to come down to the context area and make sure I select sign up screen so that this screen will be recognized as the sign up screen. So I'm going to change, I made a mistake on this, I'll change this to sign in. Then let's go to the sign up page and I'll just copy two of this field and duplicate it. Once it's duplicated, I will just rename the whole input. I'll change this to name. Then I'll change this to full name. I'll change this to phone. Then I'll change this to below name. Change the hints to phone as well. Change this to email. Bring it below the phone and change the hints to email. Then I'll change this to password. Bring it below email. Then I'll leave the hint as password as well. Then the button, I will bring it below password. And all seem to be okay. I'll just change the text for the sign in button to log in to your account. Then lastly, we need to change the button text to create accounts. And that is all for the sign up page. So let's take a preview at this once more. Once you click on the preview button, you will notice that the changes was made, but we cannot access the sign up page. And the reason is because we need to create a click event that can navigate user from sign in to sign up page. And to do that, we need to go to our main activity. From our main activity, we need to instantiate our views and buttons. To instantiate simply means create a placeholder that will represent each of our views and buttons in the XML. Once we have this placeholder, we need to link it up to the XML respectively. And to do that, we use this line of code to link up each of our views and button in our XML. So each of this placeholder is going to find view by ID by using each of these IDs. and these IDs are found in the XML. As you can see, we have the email login, password login, button login, and sign up button. So right now, to make a click event, we need to use the placeholder for the create account button and set on click listener event to it. Once you set on click listener event to it, you need to tell it where you want it to go to. So I needed to start a new activity. So to start a new activity, I will use this line of code by typing new activity, new intent, then this very activity, that's the main activity, to the next activity, which is the sign up screen.class. So what I'm trying to say is when the user click on the button, it transfers the user from this activity to the sign up activity. So let's preview our app and test the navigation button. So as you can see, the app has started. So let's click on the sign up button. So you can notice that once you click on the sign up button, it takes you to the sign up page. So right now we need to do the same for the sign up page, so that when user click on the login button in the sign up page, user can go straight to the login page. So I'll just copy this entire placeholder and place it here. Then I will just rename this to represent the placeholder for my sign up input and button. Now I'm going to link up each of this placeholder to find view by ID. So once this is linked up, I will have to make sure I'm using the right IDs. Once I've linked up all the whole ID, I will have to create a link between the two screens by using the click event. So I'll set on click listener to the login button, then I'll start an activity, set a new activity to go back to the main activity, which is the login page. Now let's preview our work to see what we've done so far. Let me click here to go to the sign up page, and let me go back to the login page, but I notice this is on top. I will have to bring it down, but let me just click on it to see if it works. And it works. So let's go back to our Android Studio to take this downward. And let's preview it again. And everything seems to be just the way we want it. So this is how you create your app using the designs you made from Adobe XD. In the next part of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can transfer the information you enter from this Android Studio, or rather from this app, to the server side using PHP API. So I will see you in the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell if you haven't as well, so that you get notified when I release new content.